Hello and welcome back to our City Skylines 2 stream. We are right where we left off last time, taking a look at this newly added area of our city. And we're pretty much just going to focus on filling this out. So if you guys have any good ideas on what to put here, things you want to see, I'm more than happy to focus on that. I'm hoping as we take this a smaller chunk at a time, we can really focus in on the things that make this city really nice and unique. We've previously done this shopping area that I think really helps tie in the waterfront. We have this more residential waterfront area. And then we are continuing to move in this direction, hoping to cap off the town with this highway over here. Also, I think the first thing that we need to take care of is some of the larger issues that have been starting to plague our city, such as all of these hearse warnings and ambulances. And I believe we also had some traffic issues, but we can't really pinpoint where those are at the moment. It looks like we have one pop up here at this intersection. So we might also take a quick look at public transportation as well if we get the opportunity. We do have a lot of cul-de-sac suburbs out in this direction. We could potentially do something similar over here, but we do have our 4-lane Elm Street that ultimately ends at our highway. So I'm not sure if this is enough space to do something like that, or if maybe we want to go slightly higher density than that with single-family homes, but maybe in more of a gridded system, at least until we hop over to the other side of the highway where maybe this can be much more spread out and really just single family properties more or less. So let's tackle our death care issues. And I believe, yeah, currently it looks like our crematorium availability is what's lacking. So I think we'll just grab the regular crematorium, which we have one in our industrial area up here. We could potentially try to squeeze it maybe here, but this is right behind some row homes, and we were going to use this all for parks, so maybe it doesn't go there. A crematorium would have been a great building to try to squeeze into our services area. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any space to make that work. So we're going to have to find some other area to put this. Now we do have this area over here on the other side of our shopping center that we sort of left unfinished. We left this building here. I think we're going to try to have one or two more shops along the water just to help cap off Elm Street. But I think maybe for now, let's throw a crematorium next to this groundwater pumping station on this side street. So we at least have one on each side of town, and that can help hopefully distribute the load across the city. Now, as for our public transportation, we currently do have 3 bus lines. They are doing okay. We have our main bus line, which goes to our shopping center and up and down our main street, which is pulling the most amount of people. And then we have 2 other loops through this spread out area. We mainly use this to get to the schools, and those aren't drawing as much people. We can see here only about 150 passengers between the two of them. We do have taxis, although that doesn't seem to be pulling that many people. I think we just need to get a more robust bus network through here. So let's start thinking about some beneficial bus lines. I'm thinking maybe we rework this loop system that we have, and maybe we focus a bit more on some east-west connections. For instance, I think we're going to place some bus stops to get this started. And I think we could get one bus stop here at the high school. We'll get another one at the end of this road for the shopping area that we're going to put in. I think we can get bus stops right here at this intersection. Some right at our main street for potential transfers. And then continuing off into our sort of old town main street. So maybe we get one in this little town, and then we can drop people off right in the middle of our main street. So we'll get one at this end. And I think we'll have to put Anarchy on because we have an overlapping pedestrian path. And it looks like that actually gets rid of the parking that's on this street. So that kind of defeats the purpose of this. So let's think a bit more carefully about where this stop could go. We could always just put it along here, right at the parking lot. I think that serves just fine. And then maybe it loops into this shopping center, shares a stop here, and then thinking about our exit roads, it could turn up this road, come straight through our high school area, and then maybe we get another stop right before the roundabout so that there's still some access to this area on the return trip. And then we can put this line together. So let's see where we ended up with our stops. We have one here, another one there. Moving along down the road. And then at this point we loop back around. I think we have a stop here right at the high school. Another one just a few blocks down the road, and then we make our return stops. And hopefully this will help cut down some of the traffic on Elm Street, since this bus takes residents from this area over to some of our larger commercial areas on this side of town. What we will do is change the color of this route so we can differentiate it a bit from our other lines. We'll keep it this purple color. And we also want to change the ticket price to draw more riders. I think our other lines are at $5, a cost of $5. We'll keep that, and then we'll raise up our assigned vehicles to, let's go with 8. I believe we have enough buses to do that. We will have to double check and see if we get any sort of warnings. Yeah, it looks like we have no vehicles ready, so let's find our bus depot right here. And we can just plop down an extra garage. We do have a little bit of space on the backside, but I don't want to ruin this hill, so let's have these just face the street. Hopefully we can get this placed right next to the building without attaching to it, but it looks like we're going to have to do that. So yeah, let's just do that. That gives us 10 extra vehicles. That is more than enough to cover our new line. And we're running into a bunch of issues with these businesses not having enough customers, which is odd considering we have so much public transportation coming into this area. Looks like this business is doing well with their bank balance. Customers, they get 56 a month, which doesn't seem like a lot. We can take a look at some of these other ones that are maybe struggling. This gets 8 customers a month. This one gets 4. This one here gets 9. And if we look at some of the other ones, they are up close to 100, over 100. So maybe it's the traffic jams that are holding us up with customers. But let's see if that one bus line helps at all before we go about rebalancing everything else. And we'll continue to make adjustments through here and expanding our city. So I think a lot of this is going to be residential. I think this strip on Cornflower Street is going to be commercial. We just have generic commercial zoned in right now, but I think what I want to do is do something a little bit nicer like we did on the waterfront. I feel like this is maybe an opportunity where you have a bunch of nice businesses lined up. Maybe there's a secondary road and some parking lots in here to service those buildings. So we'll take a look at that once we build out in that direction. And then if we have enough time, we can think about what's happening along Elm Street as it terminates here at Sunset Highway. I think it's largely going to be smaller residential, but there could also be some commercial dotted in and potentially some industry, since we are currently struggling maybe with a little bit of industry. We've kind of shoehorned it all into this area. So let's continue building this out. We left off with these UK low density semi-detached housing, and I think that helps as a good transition from row homes down to these semi-attached housing, and then we can transition fully into single family detached housing. We can take a look at all of our current residential zoning options. And I'm interested in potentially seeing what... Let's see what the low density detached housing looks like for the UK pack. We can just fill in this block. And we do want to remember we don't want zoning on our crossing streets. So we will just quickly upgrade these. That way all of our houses are facing the same direction when we fill this in. We'll just need to quickly delete a handful of these so that they rebuild. We'll see what a block of that looks like. I think maybe let's also experiment with just the generic North American low density housing, since I feel like that can look somewhat compact and maybe sort of what we're looking for as we slowly transition our town from medium density down to lower density. We could also spread it out a bit more with some parks, but let's get an idea of what we want this to look like first. I think we will just continue to extend our roads. We do have a bit of a hill, so I think this road is going to be the last one that we connect up to Elm Street. And then we'll have this hill act as a bit of a divider between the two neighborhoods. So with those blocks filled in, I think we will keep our alleyway running behind here. So that this divides our mixed housing on Elm Street from our low density single family in the neighborhood behind it. And what were we using? I think we were using the Southwest mixed housing, and these buildings actually look pretty good. They're not too tall for the area, and the style does blend in pretty nice. So I think we'll continue to use this for these last two blocks. And once again, we want to make sure we don't have zoning allowed on these alleyways. It looks like we might have gotten one. We also want to make sure we don't allow zoning on the side streets. We want everything here fronting Elm Street. So we'll see what this looks like when it grows in. It looks like these homes are finally filling in. And the UK single family homes matches a little bit better with what we're currently showing. I wonder if maybe we could do a mix of the two zoning types to add some variety. This is going to put a lot more on our part with the zoning, but I think the result could be something fairly unique that hopefully could mesh together well. So we will just sort of paint in random sized lots. And then let this grow in and see what we get. And we can take a quick look at our buses, and it looks like our newest bus line is actually serving a very good need at 250 passengers at the moment. We can take a look and see if any of our stops or buses are overloaded. It looks like this stop here, right at Eastgate Street, which is our main entry into the town, has the most people waiting at 82. And then some of these other stops, which seems to be the high school and the shopping area, have another handful of people waiting. I think we'll keep the amount of buses at the moment, but we will keep this in mind as a potential upgrade. We want to make sure that we're not competing with some other lines, so let's actually adjust the ticket price, keep that the same across all of our lines. So it looks like we actually used 6 instead of 5 as our previous ticket price. We'll lower this to 5 for all of our lines. See how that does with ridership. It does seem like we're doing a little bit better. I haven't checked our traffic, but it seems like Elm Street has cleared up. We had traffic heading this direction on Elm Street, which appears to be gone. And it looks like we don't really have traffic on any of our smaller residential streets. This is still a bit of a hassle. Maybe we can look into what's causing this. I think really it's mainly people getting funneled onto Cornflower Street in order to leave the city or go somewhere else. I'm not too sure what the solution could be here. If maybe we want to use some one-ways to force people onto Elm Street, or if we just need maybe another connection cutting through here. But I think we'll reassess this after we do a bit more building. we can take a look, and I think this sort of mixed approach doesn't look too bad. All of these plots sort of have their own boundaries, it seems. You can't really... I guess if you know what's in each building pack, you can sort of tell what's what. But I do like this more mixed approach to the zoning. So let's come back through and sprinkle that in on some of these other lots. And then we'll have to demolish and rezone these areas. But we can let this grow in once again. And then this was all the base zoning, so we can switch to the UK style and zone some of this in. And there we go. We should start to see a bit more variety. So maybe we do 2 blocks of this, and then we can fully transition into a more suburb style housing, especially since I think Holly Street here is where our traditional grid for our town is going to start to break down. Since we're not going to have any more roads connecting to Elm Street, we get this bend on Cornflower Street. This makes a natural stopping point for this grid. So let's just flesh out this last block. And then I think we'll keep with the semi-detached housing for these 2 blocks, since maybe closer to the water you would see slightly higher density. It makes sense that perhaps this would be a bit more in demand. We will want to keep an eye out for the elevation of the roads here. But first, let's fix our zoning. It looks like this has all sorts of issues. That should be better. Yeah, I think I like how this will ultimately turn out. Let's see if maybe we could throw in some parks or some other services into the area. We do have maybe an opportunity to do something on Holly Street right here. Potentially we could place this large plaza. I think we're going to focus mainly on parks in this area. I think it's going to be more of these small parks. Maybe something on the corners every here and there. If we can find a playground or some sort of activity center. Yeah, like we have this color plaza. Maybe that makes sense across from the high school. And then perhaps we remove one segment of zoning so that we can have a bit of a nature buffer, so that this park isn't bothering these residents too much. We'll see what that looks like when it grows in. I think I'm okay with this surface being a little bit weird. It actually maybe seems like a good spot to add some bike racks across from the high school. That seems like a good opportunity there. And then we can throw in a bike shelter. Yeah, we could keep that. We could also adjust the surface. We can maybe somehow figure out how to do that. Yeah, it seems like it's this surface here. There we go. That looks much better now. It feels a bit more cohesive with the area around it. And it looks like all of our other blocks have filled in. I think that, from a distance, looks pretty good. Looks like we still have some issues with hearses. Let's check in on our crematorium. Interestingly enough, this has none of its vehicles in use. Let's maybe check the other side. See what's going on with this one. This one has 2 vehicles in use, and that's handling some things. I'm wondering if this one somehow got broken. Well, it says it... I'm not sure. Let's maybe demolish this and replace it. Maybe something got broken along the way. And then we'll give it some upgrades just to make sure that we're able to cover everything. Yeah, still none of the vehicles are in use, but it did just get placed down, so maybe it needs a second in order to get to these areas. We could also take a look at some of the other services that we might need in this area. We do have a fire station down here. We have a small one up in this area, which I think we can still keep. It does feel a little out of place where it currently is, but I think we could keep it. It might be overkill to put another one in this area, but it doesn't hurt to have extra. I think we could possibly put in another one. Just taking a look at the area and what we could be putting in. We have plenty of options to choose from. I do kind of like this Dutch fire station. That feels pretty compact. I like the USA Southwest Firehouse. This one also doesn't feel too bad. I think let's try this out. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. I think it just needs to be something small to serve the immediate community. We can pair it with a similarly small police station. And I kind of like the look of this Chinese local police station, but it looks like it's just one tile too big to fit here. We might have to just go with this small police station. The UK one is another one that looks like it might be good, but it's just one tile too big. So I think let's see what this small police station looks like and if we can make this work. I don't think they're terribly different in their styles. I mean, obviously this one's a flat roof and this one has a bit of slope to it, but I don't think in terms of scale they're too far out of the question for this area. I think it's just a matter of what we do with the rest of this lot to tie it all together. So we have this road coming back and serving these police cars. I think that's okay. I think everything here is fine as well. Maybe a parking lot. We might have to do this with a parking lot road. Maybe it's a one-way street, and this can serve as maybe like guest parking or staff parking for these buildings. And then we just switch it to a one-lane road, or one-way, one-lane road. It could just be an alley. Yeah, let's see what that does. And this, I think this parking road could also just be an alley. So if we upgrade this, I think that fits better. Maybe we come in the road building and, or road builder, and we switch the parking from angled to 90-degree parking. I think that works. Then we can do a little bit of landscaping to add some boundaries. We will update the name of this. And we'll make sure it just says 90 degrees so that we know what angle the parking's at. Let's get in here some cultivated flower bushes. Those could be nice along this segment. We'll lower our spacing so we get a nice tight row of these. We'll turn anarchy on. Randomize the rotation. And we could do that. Then we can get another line of trees back here to help define this border. Maybe we group them tighter together. I think that will grow in nicely. We'll try not to overplant this area. Maybe we'll throw in a few bushes here and there along the street. But I don't think we need to do anything overly planted for this area. So that leaves us with this plot of land, which we currently have industrial along this section. We could maybe look into this being a little bit of a customized industrial plot. I don't know if we want industrial that close to our elementary school. Having it on this side of the road is already extremely close. So I think we'll just leave that empty plot for now, and we can come back to that if we think of something that could go there. Still, we have these hearse warnings. This building just isn't doing anything. It has one vehicle in use, which is returning. I'm wondering if it's a traffic issue. We could see if this building has any... Yeah, it looks like this has a few vehicles out. But it looks like it's returning now. I wonder if vehicles from this crematorium are getting assigned to these people, and it's taking too long to reach that area. And so it gets canceled, and that's why we have this perpetual pop-up. That's my best guess as to what's happening. There's not too much we can do to sort of debug this. I suppose if it really bothers us that much and we think something's actually broken, we could just demolish the buildings. But I do want to see if this gets fixed, because we have this crematorium and it looks like we have one vehicle going out. Let's see if we can follow this to where it's going. So it's coming down Holly Street. It looks like it's heading in the right direction for these. Turning, or it's going straight actually, so this might not be going to where we thought. So it looked like it went to pick up the one that was in this building. So I'm not sure why we're not getting a hearse to these buildings. Just seems very odd to me. But let's investigate that later. Let's continue filling out this section of the city. So I think here's where we can start to break down into maybe some of the USA Southwest low density housing. I'm not sure if there's any other housing that we want to use for our low density at the moment. I think we can do that. We maybe want one street connecting through here, because we do have some unused, potentially unused land here in the middle. So maybe what we do is have another road going in this direction. And we end up with a bunch of broken grids with these roads. So let's see if we can fix that. It's a little bit better. It gets a little bit broken again here, but I think that's okay. We can do something similar here. Although that looks even more broken. It actually doesn't look like it's aligned. So let's demolish all of that and try this once again. Okay, we get more broken grids. Let's give it one last go before giving up. It looks like that time we got it. I think I'm maybe okay with this. These two roads out here, this is a bit of a long segment of road, but potentially we could do something with pedestrian paths or maybe a park that walks across these roads to tie them together. But let's go through this and start zoning. Once again, we'll make sure we aren't facing the roads we don't want to face. I think for these we want to have them facing these roads that we just put in. I think we'll remove zoning on Cornflower Street, or at least the one side of Cornflower Street. And then I think this whole block here will all be residential before it transitions to our shopping area. We can start to plop these in. I'm hesitant to do just a full fill of these houses. I think we'll do it and see what we get. But I also want to try maybe spacing these out a little bit, giving some of the blocks a bit of room to breathe. So it feels like there's maybe some vacant lots, some individual properties maybe on these streets. And we can finish it off with something like so. And we can sort of evaluate which style we like better and move forward with that. But again, I do think we want to continue with the southwest low density zoning. I think maybe it's quicker to do this and then we just remove certain plots of zoning. I think that might help a bit more with some variety, and we still get some pretty consistent fill. And then curves are always tricky, but it seems like this might be soft enough that we can fill this with buildings and it wouldn't look entirely out of place. We could do something like this and it maybe wouldn't look too bad. So we'll let these fill in and see how it begins to feel. I think this just feels too rigid. I think everything's sort of the same block width. It's not necessarily bad, and maybe we even want that along Briarwood Street closest to the high school. But it does maybe feel a little unrealistic. Like, these buildings are maybe 5 to 10 feet away from each other. I just feel like you wouldn't get that. You could get it in a few cases, but I don't think you would consistently see that along a road like this. So let's maybe try removing 1 or 2 strips of zoning every here and there. See how that breaks this up. And I think we're gonna have to demolish everything. We might also get some varying block widths with it, or depths as well. So we have some 4 deep zoning in on Briarwood Street, mixed in with some of the 3 deep lots. And so it feels like this is a little bit better. I think if we plop in some trees, it'll really start to fade the boundaries of the obvious zoning grid. I think we'll get 1 building there. We can sort of fill in some of these empty spaces. And then if we come through with maybe some linden trees and a brush, we can start to fill in the gaps. And when these trees grow in, we will get something that feels a lot more natural. And then I think, just to tie this all together, this is very close to our main town area, so I think all of this would be a nice manicured grass area. So we'll just go over the entire area with a grass surface. I think we actually want to go out 1 more block. So now even these plots that don't seem like they have anyone on, they are sort of taken care of. And I think that really helps to complete this. So let's think about our zoning as we get closer to Cornflower Street. We would still see buildings really close to the intersections here. So we'll just get some of these in. And then I do think we would probably see some trees along here so we get a bit of a nature barrier from this, what's ultimately going to be a busier street. So we'll just paint in a whole bunch of trees. Maybe we can try to get a few large oak trees in the area. Not enough to overpower everything, but just enough to maybe make it feel like it was originally part of this forest. And so welcome to the stream. If you are recently joining us, we have been focusing on this area of our town, expanding it out towards our highway. We have a few issues that we are trying to tackle in the background, such as our hearses that for some reason aren't picking up our people. And we also have some of our businesses complaining about not having enough customers. So we might also have to look into that somehow. It could just be as much as demolishing the buildings, because there could have been a slight rework in what is preferred. So some of these uses might not be as preferred as the game gets updated. It seems like usually when you have not enough customers, there will be some sort of similarity with what it sells. So it looks like a lot of these are lodging services, and that could have something to do with why they are struggling to get customers. Like this is recreation. I'm not sure if we have anything else. And this is selling meals. And this is actually concerning that we're getting 0 customers. I wonder why that is. What these people are doing. We have a stop here. Yeah, it looks like we have a taxi stop, so that's what all these people are waiting for. But it is a little bit concerning that this is getting no people. And it actually looks like this water has started to take over this road. I'm not sure what happened here and why it feels like the water level has risen slightly. So I don't think that's part of our problem, but let's maybe just adjust this so that it doesn't look like our waterfront pedestrian street is flooding. I think we just have to raise that maybe 3 times. That doesn't look like it messes up too much. It does look like some of our rocks are now fully submerged. We do still have a few that seem to be above water. So I think we're okay with that. This building needs to go up a little bit. I think we'll go up 3 times as well. And then we can fix some of the landscaping around it so that the water isn't encroaching on this building. So I think that's really just raising this up all the way to the coastline. So it seems like that's going away. Doesn't seem like it's affecting much over here. Besides maybe right here we want to bring that back out a little bit. I think this is all still fine. Looks like everything out here is okay. Our road is high enough up above the water that we're definitely not getting any flooding issues out this way. Yeah, again, we can see here with these businesses, at least these 2 are struggling with customers and they both sell entertainment. And then this one sells meals, which is the same as the one that's over here. So I'm just really not sure why we just lose all customers at some point. I don't think we're going to look into that issue too much right now. But maybe it is partly affected by how people can move around. If people get stuck in traffic trying to cross Eastgate Street, there's maybe not much incentive for them to use these businesses. Again, I don't really know how that ultimately works, but we can take a look at our buses, and this has gone up. I believe we started at 7,000 people a month. Now this is up to almost 13,000 people a month. All of these are pushing a few hundred passengers each. And it doesn't seem like any of them are overloaded, which is good. So I think we can just leave that as it is. I'm not sure if this town is going to get big enough to warrant a subway. Because we could have a subway go down Elm Street. We have plenty of destinations along here for it to stop at. But I think if we ever did get a subway, it would only be down Elm Street. Maybe something that cuts through the city, but I really don't see that being as useful as it could be. I think we could maybe do a lot of the heavy lifting with just a few well-placed bus lines. But anyway, I think now that we have this neighborhood placed, I think we need to focus on what this shopping center is going to look like before we decide to cap off the area. Looks like we got a new signature building, so that's interesting. So this will be interesting. If we pull up our topography, we have this hill, and I think we can maybe cut into it a little bit and exaggerate this hill just a bit more so we have that more defined boundary. I think what we're going to do is just de-zone all of this, because all the buildings we place in here are going to be of our own choosing. I think we're going to select them and place them. So we do need to think about our roads coming into here. And those are mostly going to be decided by, I think, these intersections. So we can get one there and then one here. And this will be the road that all of these businesses sort of front onto. I think maybe the biggest thing is we need to make sure all of these are flat. We'll use Move It, Control H, and make sure all of this gets lowered to the same height. And we will have to remove all of the trees in this area, so not sure how we can easily erase all of these without having to individually select them. Let's make sure this area is nice and cleared out for this project. We want to make sure we get all of these trees out of our roads, since it seems like Move It just places all these trees back in. So as we're doing this, welcome to the stream. If you are joining in, we are now focusing on building out a shopping center right here to serve what will be this area of town and potentially some of this area. And it's going to be something very small, nothing large like we did on the other side of town. I think it'll just maybe be a few stores, just big enough for someone to run all of their errands in one place, and obviously adequate parking for everything. So I think that's all the trees out of our way. Let's now level out the terrain, so we don't have to worry about any of that as we do this. We'll make sure this is all nice and level. And then, of course, we will be cutting into this hill a little bit. And maybe we add a retaining wall to this side of the street as it goes up. I don't think it's too crazy to think that maybe you wouldn't want people coming from this road, especially since this is going to act as a bit of a transition road from this neighborhood down to here. It's going to have a lot of traffic. We'd maybe want to limit connections off of this road, and having that retaining wall will just help with that. And so we can keep that, and we can come back and fix that a little bit later on. I think now we want to think about what our parking situation is going to look like in here. I'd love to use these parking lot roads for all of it. And we forgot to turn off our upgrades, so let's delete that. We want this to just be a regular road. 3 tiles doesn't give us that much space to have good parking. Although, it does seem like that gets us something. And then if we come in and we throw that onto here, we might be able to get something that resembles decent parking. We're obviously going to have to go through and fix up our surfaces. For some reason, these parking lots aren't quite the same. That's not what we want. Looks like we get something a bit weird going on when we do that. So we'll just give 1 tile of space around the roads. And then all of this can just get filled in with the usual parking lot roads. For some reason we lost our zoning grid as we did this. Looks like it doesn't like this being quite as close to this road. Maybe we just need to grab this, and if we turn off zoning cell length, can we, or if we turn off all snapping, can we just shift this over just far enough that it won't try to connect to this road? And let's see if we can continue to add this in. Appears to work, but it looks like we're not perfectly spaced. Which is a bit of a disappointment. We might be able to use Move It to ever so slightly pull these over. Actually, we'll undo this. I'm not the biggest fan that adding this removes the parking at the intersection. just thinking about what we could do. Not sure why we lost a little bit of parking when we... There we go. This could actually be okay. Maybe we place something in this lot. I'm still not a huge fan of the broken up parking. Can we place individual parking stalls? I wonder. We do have some road marking net lanes that we could use. I haven't used these that much, so I'm not entirely sure how they work. But I think if we could just get them visually... Well, this just might be way too much work to draw in these lines by ourselves. I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can make this look nice and intentional. Yeah, like that's not going to work. I think we could do something with this. I think it's going to take a lot of landscape work to blend this together, but I do think we have something that wouldn't look too bad. So let's focus on just this plot right now, find something that works, and then we can sort of semi-replicate it in these two side areas if we need to. So first let's start with our surfaces, and we want to grab one of our pavements. I'm not sure which one it quite is. We'll just make a basic rectangle at the moment. And it looks like it is this one that should fit. I think our biggest question is how we finish these corners. As that can always be tricky. We just sort of have dead empty space here if we leave it like that. I think we can just use one giant surface to cover all of this parking. Keep it nice and simple. And we use this space for some landscaping. It wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of landscaping to help hide some of the more unnecessary things that we might want to blend in. I think we just have this one parking lot to go. And that'll do it for our parking surfaces. Let's get something nice with the grass. These will be nice planted areas. And I think similarly to what we did over here next to the high school, and we have this sort of stormwater basin or rainwater to collect in, we could do something similar in these two corner patches. I don't really see much else that we could do in this area. We will want to be careful because this is quite a small area that we're working with. We'll bring our brush size down almost as small as we can, bring the strength down quite a lot as well. And then what we can do is just lower this down, maybe just to the next contour level that we can see. Then we can level that out. And then we get a nice little dip here that will fill with landscaping. And that'll make this all blend together nicely. We'll do something similar over here on this side. We will lower the terrain and then level it out. I think maybe we want to go... Actually, we did want to go just a little bit lower. Yeah, we can do that, and we can work with that. So let's start focusing on all of this. I think, can we find fences? I think we could do like a hedge fence right here. We can have that along this road. I think first let's focus on the plantings in this area. So yeah, let's get 4 trees right down the middle of this. We can do the same here, 4 trees. I don't think these get terribly large. And then maybe these just get surrounded with flower bushes on either side. Just like that, as once again, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy, just something to put in that nice grass area between the parking lots. And now let's focus on these 2 stormwater basin areas. This is really just going to be a mix of bushes. So maybe we get a few flower bushes in here, some of these wild green bushes. Although those get quite large. We can do something like that, and then maybe we just throw in like an apple tree or 2. Because you might also see a tree growing in around the edges of these. Something like that. We could do something similar here, just a few flower bushes, some regular bushes, maybe one of these larger bushes, and then a tree or 2. And then we can think about some of our more intentional plantings around here. So I think maybe we get another area set up. Some nice grass that fills in this area. This will be trees once again. Same thing on this side. Maybe we follow something similar to what we did between these parking segments, so let's go find that. I believe it was these hickory trees. Maybe it was the birch trees? Or no, they were linden trees. And then we'll have to figure out what our spacing was. Seems like this 6.5. We'll get these placed back in along here, over here, and then maybe we do some nicer cultivated flower bushes along the main roads coming into this shopping center. Let's maybe use the better line tool so we can randomize the rotation a bit. that in. We'll do the same on this side. Just a nice thick line of flower bushes. And I think this is already looking much better than it was previously. I think we need to find something to line along the back edge of this parking. And it could just be something as simple as a cultivated flower bush, or maybe some taller trees. Or maybe we just leave it as nice grass, and then we use a little bit of anarchy. We could pretend that this area is maybe just a cutout for trees. Now, I don't think we can override the surface that's here. We can take a look and see if we can, but I don't think we can. Yeah, if we just do this, it doesn't come through the road. So I think, well, let's maybe see if we have like planters or something. We go into our props. And we have plant pots, but we don't have like a large planter box that we could place here. So I think we're just going to have to place some trees, use some anarchy, and maybe we'll use some bushes to mask the fact that it's on pavement. I think let's do one birch tree here and here. A birch tree here and here. And maybe we just do like 4 bushes right at the base of the tree. Maybe not the biggest fan of how that looks. So maybe we use the wild bushes. Although those seem a little bit big. Can we do... Flower bushes don't look great either. I think maybe what we could do is we can sort of make a box of bushes, and you'll still be able to see the asphalt underneath the trees. But I think this might just help mask it. From a distance, you wouldn't really be able to tell that much. Maybe we fill this with like some of these flower bushes just to help mask it. I think that helps a little bit. And then we just have to do the same for over here. I believe we used this cultivated green bush. Yeah, it looks like that's what we used. And then we just need to connect these ends. Plop in our flower bushes. And then we can leave that area off. I'm still not sure what we want to do with these corners. I think ideally those are actual parking spaces, but we can't really do anything about that. So I think we'll just place oak trees at each of these corners. This will ultimately help mask a lot of these edges once they are fully grown. So we can just do that. And then we can find a building that fits right here in the middle of all of this. We can pretty much just search for it, and it looks like it's a perfect 6x3 block. So if we search for commercial buildings, and then we filter by a lot width of 6 and a lot depth of 3, looks like we actually don't have anything like that. But we can pull in some of these buildings, and these are the exact type of buildings I want to see in here. Where were they? Although the EU commercial buildings also fit really well in places like this. So I actually kind of like this one that we pulled up immediately. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I think I like this actually. We have sort of back of house here. It has a little service entry road. And then we can just maybe add some parks along the side, help drive a little bit of pedestrian usage through here. If we find a park that is 3 deep, that would be perfect. Looks like we have parks that are maybe 2 tiles deep. Nothing that's exactly what we want, but it looks like it doesn't fit here anyway. So we'll just grab these. Actually, we don't want that because that's right on the parking lot road. So we don't even want that. I think we want parks that face our main road. It's like this mini park. Well, that's not really what we want. Maybe it is just trees. I think maybe it's just a sidewalk cut through and then some trees. So let's go back to our surfaces. Find a nice concrete surface that we can use. I wonder if there's one that matches the sidewalk texture. I'm not sure if there is. Yeah, it doesn't look like that one fits. Maybe pavement types. This feels closer. Let's just try to add that on both sides. I think we could keep that. What we could do is also throw in some invisible walking paths. I believe those are here in pathways. I suppose we could have just done a pavement path through here. I don't think it would have. We get that odd texture, but we just come in and use this invisible pedestrian path. People should use this to cut through as long as it connects to both roads. And that should act as just a regular sidewalk. And then we can just throw in maybe 3 oak trees along here. Make sure they have plenty of space to grow. Yeah, just like that. And then 3 more right here. I think that's a good start. So we have 1 building, plenty of parking. I think we just need to let's first place down the buildings we want along here, and then we can flesh out the parking on these other 2 spines. We have this bush we must have missed. Let's fix that up. And then maybe here is where we use some of our other unique buildings. So we have this Whole Foods market that we got from Paradox Mods. That might be a good building to throw in here. I think we'll keep that there. We could also throw this Barnes & Noble building that we also downloaded, but I think we'll keep that here. I think the rest of this will just use some generic commercial assets to try to fill in the space. So let's see. I think all of the 6 deep lots are going to be 2 deep, or they're going to have parking. We want low buildings. And yeah, it seems like there's actually none that are 6 tiles deep. Interestingly enough, I guess none of these zone types really work that well. I think we're just gonna have to sift through this. I don't believe we have some of these EU buildings actually might work. We're gonna place down a whole bunch and see what works. I think we do have some. Looks like we leveled up and got a few things. We do have some of these, which could be nice. It's a shame there's not an opposite corner type of building for this that we could sort of make a central plaza. Because this building is kind of interesting if we get out of this view. This almost feels like very shopping mall. But I just don't think we have enough buildings that match that style that we could really make something out of this. We have some of these which are, again, very interestingly shaped buildings. I think it's the lot depth that's really doing it for us. I don't think a 6 deep lot is really what we want. It looks like if we just get too large with anything, we get parking associated on the lot, which is not what we want. So we might have to go down to 3 deep lots and then whatever's available. Even this has parking. Can we go to 2 deep? And the 2 deep gives us what we would see sort of just facing the road. So we could do that. All of this has... Well, this one doesn't have parking, which is good. This also doesn't have parking. I'm trying to think of something we can sort of piece together a cohesive sort of front facade along the along this road. I think we're going to place down a bunch of these until we find what works. I think we're getting there. There's sort of something here that's starting to come together. It looks like there's sort of 2 styles we could go with. We have this sort of square, flat top pillars, or we have these more 4-sided sloped roofs that we could go with. I think let's... I'm not... What's unfortunate is this building has some side access. I guess these also technically have side access. but we could, yeah, we can remove a lot of stuff with better bulldozer. Or maybe we mix things up a little bit and maybe we do one set of buildings here and then another set across this portion, and then this can be these two buildings, because I do like whatever building we ended up getting here. This looks almost like a restaurant, even though it's saying it's not selling food. It looks a lot like a restaurant. So we could use move it and just slide that right next to our other building. And then we can do the same with all of this. We'll just slide all of these types over here. And then I think this corner is where we'll start to see these buildings. And we are going to have to come back and fix up the colors. That shouldn't be too hard to fix once this is all put together. And I'm hoping we can clip these into each other without it being too ugly. Although it looks like we're already sort of hitting a bit of a snag. Maybe let's see if we have some better buildings here that can merge together. That has parking. This seems like maybe a good building we could repeat a few times. Let's get this out of here and maybe slide this in. We get the corners to line up. Just like so. I kind of like that we get the door back here. The windows do clip. Maybe we just keep all of these separate. Does that look good though? Maybe move these out of the way, and if we... Maybe the issue is that we're not using the exact same asset, so it doesn't exactly tile well. So if we use the exact same buildings, this starts to feel better, although we get a little bit of wonkiness here. And then if we were to, say, clip this one in. Okay, so it seems like these actually aren't at the same height, so we'll fix that first. Now that we've done that... Okay, this actually doesn't look that bad. I think if we made these all the same height... And then we properly got these meshed together. This is complaining about a road connection. Maybe it's... Hopefully that's just a road to the back. But let's see... If we copy the colors from this building and we paste it onto these other buildings, how cohesive this looks as one front. I think from a distance this looks really good. And I think up close, nothing really calls attention to itself. Let's maybe see if we can clean this up by removing individual sub-elements that seem out of place, such as these signs to nowhere. Maybe some of these sort of vents that intersect with each other. Can we remove individual wall pieces? Doesn't seem like it. But I think I'm okay with... Well, I'm not sure if I'm okay with this vent staying, because it does clip through the wall. It would have been nice maybe to have something here to hide the clipping that's going on, but it almost seems to call less attention to itself when it's not a whole bunch of overlapping ductwork. And at least here there's like a satellite dish. Let's keep removing these and see. Yeah, this looks bad if you see where it intersects, so we can do that. Can we move sub-elements? I'm not sure if we can. I think that's getting into way too much customization. I do like the satellite dish here. I don't like that it's just ever so slightly intersecting with this wall. So I think we are going to have to remove that. And I think we can keep this corner entrance here. We could potentially do something cool with that if we slide everything over. But I think we can keep this. I think this doesn't look awful. If we take another closer look at the back side, make sure we remove some of the awkwardness. Like at a quick glance, and without knowing how we did this, I think this all fits together nicely. So I think let's keep it. I do want to move these a bit farther away. So I think if we could do that, that would be great. And then we can remove all of these extras that we had. I think now what we can do is come through with an alley road. And we can use this. We can get it to snap properly. This is going to be a little tricky. We can do that, and then we can have this sort of back service alley behind these buildings. Yeah, I think this is starting to come together. So let's focus on getting this central area together, and then we can really focus in on the smaller details. So we might end up just doing the same thing. We'll grab we'll just copy the same exact building so that it tiles easily and we don't have a bunch of weird transitions. So let's see if we can find maybe some better versions of this. We do just have extremely basic buildings like this, but I feel like this doesn't have that much character. And with it being sort of the center focal point, I think this style maybe draws a bit more attention to itself, which is maybe what we want in an area like this. So maybe if we go to a lot depth of 3, do we get more options? Or is this just going to give us options with parking? It looks like we're just getting options with parking, which isn't great. It would be nice to have just a full block of a building like this without parking, but I think we're gonna have to settle with a 2 deep shopping center. And it does seem like this is really our only option, so let's place a few of these down, see if we get any good sort of color schemes, and then we can go from there. And this actually almost tiles perfectly. Let's see if we... Yeah, we do end up just a little bit short, so I think let's clip the 4 of these together, and then we'll have to center it between all of this. Maybe can we fit a 5th? I think if we're doing this, we could potentially fit a 5th building in here. So let's grab all of these. We will Control H, make sure they are all at the same height. And then we can very carefully start sliding these into each other. So we bring that one into there, this one slides into here. This red one goes in just like that, and then this last one should fit just like so. And that actually gets us like right on with being centered on this. I think maybe all of these have to move slightly to the right. Let's grab all of these and make just the smallest adjustment. And we do that. So now I think we can continue on by choosing a color scheme that we like. I think we'll go with this green one. It kind of complements the blue a little bit better. We'll paste that everywhere. We'll paste it over this one just to make sure it's the same exact colors. And so this makes all that texture fighting go away from the different colors. It still happens on the roofs, but that's much less noticeable than the colors that we were seeing. So I think I like this. We just need to do some cleanup on the roofs now. So anywhere we have something really weird going on, for instance, I think this duct work is gonna have to go. It's not really a good terminating point. Maybe we could do that. That doesn't look awful. Same with this. This is gonna be really hard. Because again, I just don't like that this duct clips through the wall. It's just not realistic. I mean, this one's okay. This one also needs to go. I don't know if you'd really see this much rooftop duct work on these buildings. I think most of that happens inside of the building anyway. So it's okay if we have some of it show up, but maybe not all of it. And then I think, yeah, we can get rid of this as well. I think we will also demolish this, just so we keep sort of a consistent look of ductwork. Yeah, I think we'll keep this. Well, now this calls attention to itself, so maybe we'll just get rid of this as well. And that feels better. So if you're just tuning into the stream, welcome. We are mainly focusing on this area of our city, putting together this little shopping center that's going to serve the future area around here. We also have some ongoing issues that we've been trying to deal with, such as our hearse issues, which my current working theory is traffic is preventing them from getting to where they need to go, and that's why we're getting these pop-ups. However, traffic isn't, I wouldn't say it's terrible. I'd say it's bad in some locations, but I wouldn't say it's like standstill traffic gridlock, which is part of why I'm confused as to why these pop-ups haven't gone away. And then we also have this issue of not enough customers popping up all over our town. I'm not sure if that's a result of an update or if that is a result of just simply not enough demand like it's saying. Even though we do have full demand for commercials, so I really don't know what's going on with this. I think we could continue to try demolishing the buildings that aren't working, although I think that just really messed us up right here. So maybe we don't do that. We'll just get that building placed back in, and we'll pretend like nothing ever got removed. But as for these other areas, we did demolish some other buildings, and those seem to have fixed our issue. So maybe that is what we have to do. Like again, we have all of these provide lodging, and I think that's part of why we're running into issues. We'll just demolish all of those. See if that fixes things. As for the buildings we placed down, we're not going to demolish these just because they don't have enough customers. We sort of built this around these buildings. I don't want to remove them just because of that. So anyway, back to this shopping center. We have all of these buildings here. Seems like maybe we can come back and put some more signage on these buildings. They're not really popping out as much as I think I would like them to. But anyway, back to this, we have our alley road that we are running behind all of this. That's going to come through here. We'll have this connect up similarly to the other direction that we have it going. And then maybe we have this loop back around behind these buildings. We're going to have to do a bit more flattening of the terrain in order to give ourselves enough space for this to work. So now that we've done that, we can bring this out. I think we'll turn off snapping to our guidelines. We'll keep on snapping to the sides of buildings because we want this to come across. We want this to connect. And then we can remove the roads. And now we have this service alley back here. And then I also kind of wonder, we just have this snap to the end of the road. This can serve as an end of the shopping center and then also help define the edge of the parking over here. So yeah, I quite like how this is coming together. Maybe having these all be the same color is a bit much, but I don't think there's anything we can do about the texture fighting that we would get otherwise. So I think we're kind of forced to leave it how it is. So I think let's focus on parking in this area now. And thinking about how we want to do this, let's maybe just start with the usual, a alley road. Let's see if we can turn back on some of our snaps in order to get this to work. I think what we want is just as much parking in here as possible, which unfortunately doesn't seem too likely. I think we have to at least give one tile of space. And then whatever we do with this road, I'm not quite sure at the moment. Could use this and have that be parking. Not a great solution, but it might be the best that we have for now. Although that does leave us at a bit of an awkward spot here with this. I'm almost wondering if we can slim this up a bit with Road Builder. We really need this much space for the parking lots. Currently giving 21 feet or 29 feet. Can we slim this up? Almost seems like we can. Can we get the drive lanes any skinnier? Don't think so. Don't want markings. We have regular parking along here. This is a bit more compact, so I think maybe we can do this without too much issue. Let's update this. I guess this technically counts as a medium road. Let's delete that and try putting this back in. Now we can at least do something that has a bit more parking than our previous solutions. Unfortunately, I think in order to do that, we'd have to have this. Although that's not the end of the world. We can fix this with surfaces and some landscaping. I don't like how it doesn't have the same amount of parking spaces. So let's maybe try to fix that. And there we go. If we sort of go a bit deeper in there, we get that all matched up. And what does this look like if we tried to do our parking alleys? Yeah, that doesn't look great. It does give us a little bit of extra parking. Can we reverse this, and does it look better if we do that? Kind of, not really. I'd almost prefer this look better, but that means we are going to have to do some landscaping to fill in these two sort of unused intersection areas. I think we can leave the corners as they are. Just some landscaping to maybe touch that up. So let's roll with it. Let's see what we can do. We would want as much parking as possible in here for these grocery stores and what I'm going to say is a restaurant, even though it appears to be a bike shop. But the building looks like a restaurant. I'm going to say it's a restaurant. So let's get into fixing this. So our pavement surface, we can have that snap to the side of the alleyway. Bring that here. And then we'll just close out a small area at first. So yeah, we can do that. And then from this point on, we just pretty much have to drag this through. I think we accidentally deleted the area. Let's get this all put back together quick. And we'll just throw in a bunch of random nodes just to help us fix this. And then we just have to bring this around. Make sure we don't lose this. I think this will round out our asphalt areas. Still not sure if we want to square off these corners or not. I think let's try keeping them rounded and see what we can do with that. We can now come back and fill in with grass areas in these medians. We'll do something quite similar to what we did in our other area. I think all of this wants to be a grass surface as well. And there we go. Let's place in our trees. And for consistency, I believe these were hickory trees. We will do the same spacing, same idea along here. That's a little bit off. Make sure that aligns properly. There we go. Let's see if we can maybe use our more advanced line tool. Unfortunately, we can't get the exact same spacing, so we might have to... Maybe we abandon that and we just go back to our regular line tool. I think we'll just keep these as trees. We won't do the extra landscaping around it, because I think we don't have quite as much space between the parking spaces. So I think trees are fine. I think we will match the idea of... What were these? These were flower bushes. I'm not sure which ones they were. I think it was these cultivated flower bushes. And we also have to get the spacing right. And that was... not sure what our spacing was there. Maybe it was this 1.6. Not sure, but that looks like that's as close as we're going to get. So yeah, let's get these in. Yeah, I like that. We'll keep that. And then we can come back with our hedge fence. I think we'll do the same thing here. Yeah, we can do that. I think this is just going to get maybe a tree or two. Yeah, let's just do 2 trees. One at the corner and one pretty much in line with the light post, it seems. And then I think here we'll just do 2 trees, and they'll be a bit farther set back, but it still seems like it makes sense that you wouldn't have parking here. I think the only thing really stopping us is the fact that there's a light pole right at the intersection, so we can't just place like an oak tree here. It wouldn't make sense or look good to have a light pole like right in the middle of a tree. So that's partly why we're placing these the way we are. Now we just need to figure out what we want this boundary to be. But I think let's come back to that and first figure out parking on this side so that we can start wrapping some things up. So welcome if you are just tuning in, or if you've been sticking around for a while through this stream. We are aiming to wrap up this shopping area. We have this newly placed neighborhood of single-family homes, which I think came out nicely. I think this transition from row home to single-family homes isn't too bad. It might be a little bit quick. I think maybe ideally you do a few more blocks of more densely packed homes, but I wanted to get to really low density single family housing and have this sort of be our divide. We have a hill that's going to sort of separate the 2 communities. We'll have this one down here, and then ultimately up here at Elm Street we'll have another smaller community. But I think this shopping center is sort of going to be what connects the 2. I think that's going to be really fun. And actually thinking about that, I wonder if maybe in order to future-proof this a little bit, if we bring this road out and then this can turn north and act as a connection up here, so that not everyone is forced to take Alyssa Street, since this is also going to act more as a collector for people maybe coming to our main entry of town or getting onto our smaller Cedar Highway. So I think this is going to be mainly prioritizing people traveling across the city, and then we can have this small side street connection connect up to probably Elm Street, and that's how this community could access the shopping center. So I'm really excited about that. We'll just leave this off as a little bit of a nub, so it's a reminder for the future. But anyway, getting back to over here and fleshing out this parking lot. think we're going to get back to our alleyways. And we'll do very similar to what we did over here. I think the tricky thing is going to be having these roads all line up. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how we got these. I guess they're not technically lined up, but they are pretty close. So we are somehow going to have to draw this in with our guidelines on. That's not helping. I think this is. I think that's the spacing we want. And then from this point, we can do basically the same thing we did here. So we can pull off some parking right there, and then we can go every few blocks. Even though this is, something is different here. Let's see if we can fix that. We'll turn off guidelines because that might be factoring into this. It seems like we're breaking the grid somewhere along the way. Let's maybe turn off some more of this. Let's maybe just start from scratch real quick. We'll even get rid of that road on the end. So we want this road coming down and connecting. We want this one to come down and connect. For some reason, from this point on, we lose that connection. That is not what we want. Now we could do some slightly different parking over here. We do have the space. We could do this, and then this road just becomes an alley. And I think that'll actually allow for a lot more parking in here. We can come find this. And then, well, we're not going to get much parking if we do that. So maybe this is just an alley that cuts off. I think this could be a good parking lot. It's a bit more dense than this one, but I didn't think about doing this type of parking over here. I think it should still be fine. Everything should still function just as well. I think the biggest question is, what do we do with this space now? I think it's plenty of space for a park. Let's first maybe get our surfaces in. Sort of lay the groundwork for whatever this is going to be. So that's going to connect here. Let's just round this out as a nice rectangle for now. Interestingly enough, that's not going all the way back to the retaining wall. We'll have to bring that in more. Thinking more about surfaces, I think we probably want this to come and act as a sidewalk. And it's going to start to get a little bit weird here at the corner, but I think this is our best chance of making it work. We do that. And then maybe this just fills in. So we end up with something like this. I don't think that's the worst thing. I think maybe there's a better pavement type we could use. I think we'll go with this. Something's not going right at the sidewalk, but I think we might be able to hide that if we do some plants or something else. But anyway, moving on. I think let's get some trees and bushes. Whatever else we would want here. I think we'll use these bushes in a line right here. And then maybe we just get trees along this way. Yeah, I think some linden trees. We go nice and spaced out. How close? That just barely touches the road. We adjust this. I think that should work. And then we're back to these flower bushes. Which will connect up just like so. And the last thing we need to do to help round this out is our hedge bush. And this terminates quite nicely with our retaining wall. So there's nothing else we have to do with that. Just need one more flower bush there. I think just maybe 2 or 3 trees. Those actually didn't place quite where I thought they were. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. So this should do a little bit better. Again, we're already getting issues of not enough customers here for food. So hopefully that fixes itself when we build a community around this shopping center. I will agree it is a bit isolated from where it's at. But it looks like some of our other notifications out here went away. We're still dealing with a few in this area, which it looks like it's also food. It looks like it's mostly food and recreation that we are dealing with not enough customers at the moment. Again, we still have these hearse issues. I wonder if it's the building itself that's causing issues. These all seem to be similar building type. We'll just demolish those. Maybe they'll come back. Because we aren't getting those hearse issues elsewhere. It's only in those row homes. But anyway, back to this area. Let's continue focusing on... Let's adjust our surfaces. I think this can now be parks. I think a nice canopy park here would look pretty good. Can we stretch this a little bit away from the road? I think we can. Can we get any other parks around here? This square pocket park could actually be really nice. It looks like it's... Is it snapping? to this road. I can't tell if it's snapping to our elevated road or if it's snapping to this road. I guess it doesn't quite matter. But I think this park might actually work really well as almost like a fake addition to this. Because we sort of have this side entrance here. This almost feels like a restaurant type setting. So if we were to pull this park maybe a little bit closer, and then can we resurface this park maybe? Or do we have to, maybe we have to bulldoze it and rebuild it until we get the surface that we want. Let's see if we can, yeah, we can change this. So I think it was this surface. And then we're moving this. Looks like we're moving the park independently from the surface. We're gonna have to be very careful about this, or else this is about to get really messy. I think that just about does it. And yeah, I think I like this. So let's round this out with a bit of landscaping. I think you'd see some nice thick flower bushes along here. Maybe a few trees. Now let's just get 2 trees right there. And then this out here would probably just be a random assortment of trees. It'd still be like planned and landscaped, so we'll keep it how it is. Yeah, I think I like this. Everything looks good here. We do actually have parking decals if we wanted to. I guess it's too late to fill in these spaces, but we do actually have parking decals we could place. But we've already planned this area, so we'll leave it as it is. I think the last thing to do maybe is some trees along here. And then just to cap off this road, can we, without destroying everything, sort of bring this around? And maybe this just acts as like a little loop type of area. So alright, I think I really like how this came out. There's a little bit more adjusting I think I want to do here, so let's go ahead and do that. And I think what we want to do is move this slightly so it's more centered on the lot. It gives the building a bit of space to breathe. And then I do want to play around with the surfaces. I think this needs to extend all the way out to the alleyway. So do something like that. I think whatever this tiled, textured surfaces needs to change. I think maybe just the light concrete surface is just fine. And maybe we even add that in here. And then we'll do the same here at this corner. I feel like there's a lot of things we can snap to over there. We just need to be careful about that. Make sure we have all of our bases covered. This we can just expand. Yeah, we can do that. And then everything else over here we already looked at. So seems like there's plenty of activity in the area, people walking in, a little bit of parking going on. We can see it looks like we have some furniture stores, a lot of furniture and petrochemicals being sold in this shopping strip. Not sure if that's a good thing, but it's drawing people, so I guess we have to be okay with that. Let's just throw another line of trees right here, and we'll think about how this looks once we connect this road up with Elm Street, but I don't think we're going to get there quite in this stream. So I think to finally complete this area, let's fix up this hill, first of all. So we'll flatten this out a bit more. Make sure everything is nice and flattened. We have plenty of space. Let's raise our brush strength. I think really what we're going to do is use this slope tool, and we're going to pretty much slope up to this elevation. That's going to give us a bit of a steep hill, but that is just fine with me. We are going to come back through and smooth this out, but I think the slope tool helps give us a more consistent hill. And then we'll cover this all with trees and very dense vegetation so that you don't have to worry about any sort of flooding or runoff issues of all the rainwater running off into the back of these buildings. Now we can come through with the soften terrain tool. Maybe bring that up a bit. And then we can just soften this hill. We'll get this nice and smoothed out with the back of this alleyway. And I think that is looking really nice. Yeah, the slope isn't terrible, but it is enough that you probably wouldn't build a road up it or do anything too crazy with it. And so I think we're at the point where we just cover it with a bunch of vegetation. So we're going to grab our brush. Maybe we lower this a little bit. We'll bring down the brush strength since we're going to go a few passes with different kinds of bushes. We'll keep Anarchy on so that we can overlap our planting so we get a nice thick area of vegetation. And we'll also spread this out a little bit farther back as well. Get those bushes in here. These bushes are really nice because they sort of act as what's sort of the underbrush of all of this. once these trees grow, you sort of have like a layer of bushes and taller grasses that are underneath the trees. So that's sort of what we want to see growing in here. We'll do a pass with some hickory trees. And then lastly, because this is an oak forest that we are right up next to, we will come back through with a few oak trees. And I think we'll also even round this out with a few flower bushes. These, I imagine, would be more like wildflowers growing in the area. I think it'll add a nice pop of color once everything grows in. Alright, so it's going to be some time before these grow in and we actually see sort of the fruits of our labor back here, but I'm pretty happy with this. Let's take a quick look at what the rest of our town is doing before we end the stream here, but it looks like we still have traffic issues and it's backing up onto our main road once again. And we also have another huge pop-up of hearses. So I think it's definitely some sort of issue. I wonder if it's a proximity thing, because it looks like our stats here are getting a little bit glitched out. And here nothing is changing. I almost wonder if we just to satisfy the demand, if we just throw one here and see if that helps. Or maybe if it's something to do with this cemetery, which we can't really do anything about. Does this add capacity? This does add capacity, but if we just threw on a couple of these, even though they look they don't look that bad actually, but yeah, we just have all of this popping up around our city and I'm not really sure how we fix that. And so I see we have a bunch of traffic in this area. It seems like this intersection is a lot to handle. I'm almost wondering if maybe we extend this street to connect with our highway. That's going to be a very temporary thing for right now, but maybe just seeing if that helps relieve some of the pressure that's going on at this intersection. It looks like it's starting to go away, but that might have been like a rush hour traffic situation. We should still try to get that fixed and figure out what's going on. But yeah, we can see we no longer have traffic backing up through the main entrance of our city. It looks like it's mostly in this area, which it seems like I think a lot of them have rerouted to avoid our main road. So I think we're gonna have to take some look at some sort of traffic solution here. This intersection isn't great. It was sort of a remnant of when we first built this neighborhood, and it's kind of a unique intersection that gives it a bit of character, but in terms of traffic flow, it is just not doing it for us right now. So maybe we just straighten it out, curve it over, and connect to this road. That's one solution we could do, and that might help. Yeah, I think next stream we're gonna have to take a close look at what's going on with our traffic and potentially looking at how we can fix it. And that might even involve us upgrading some of these streets to 4-lane roads. Because right now, our only 4-lane roads is Eastgate Street, which is our main corridor connection, and then Elm Street, which is sort of our long road that follows the water. So I think we definitely need to focus more on using streets of different sizes, allowing more traffic to go in certain areas, and maybe even wondering if a roundabout is the best solution here to enter our town. It might not be, but I think that is something we're going to handle in the next stream. So if you guys have any ideas on how to fix that, I am more than happy to take ideas. But I think other than that, we are going to end this stream off here. So thank you guys for sticking around and joining me through this, even if you were just hanging out and watching, or giving some input and feedback. It's always much appreciated. But be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Tune in Wednesdays at 7:30 for regular weekly streams, and then check in on the weekends like today for some of these extra streams. But with that, thank you guys for watching, and have a good night.